it's you, if I talk and give it to you, and then at the end of it, we will bring whatever legislators up to join us.
So Gary, I just wanted to introduce you to Rep. Alabas Farm.
What do you say?
Nice to meet you.
to
This
see
is
you.
our
How are you?
DWSD director.
I live in this area, so it's okay.
You are welcome.
Brian, yeah, you should be.
Okay,
Hey, Brian,
is
did
it-
they change the running show at all? Did they? Who?
Just
We're gonna be-
Alabas after mayor and then Gary.
And Tyrone Carter's going to try and make it too. So whatever legislators are here, we'll bring them up at the end.
Oh, at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After EJ then?
Yeah, after
Okay.
EJ.
Okay.
EJ, come on, you stand with us. All right. You're up here?
Yes, sir.
All right. We got a guy working furiously here. Are you good? All right. Well, good afternoon. This is a very positive day for the families of the city of Detroit. As you know, Detroit has pretty much the safest drinking water in America. The Detroit Water and Sewer Department has done an outstanding job, and we are acting today to make sure we keep our water supply safe. We've seen too often in this country that after lead pipes have failed and we have children with elevated blood lead levels, the government scrambles to replace the pipes. What we are doing today is getting ahead of that curve because we know that these lead pipes will not last forever. And so today we are kicking off the 2023 construction season where we will be replacing 5,000 lead pipes in the city of Detroit, starting right here in this neighborhood. And let me take you through the math. There are approximately 80,000 houses in this city that have lead service lines. We've replaced about 3,000. This summer, we're going to replace 5,000 more. Next summer, we're going to place 10,000 more. And the way that we did this is we went to the people who need it the most to service those areas first. We're going to the neighborhoods in the city that have large numbers of young children because we know it is our young children who are most at risk for having the lead in the system. And we're going to neighborhoods of lower income because lead service lines are the property of the homeowner. They've been the financial responsibility of the homeowners historically, but folks in this town know if your lead service line cracks and you need to replace it, it'd be $7,000 or $8,000, which is a huge hit on a household. And unfortunately, they don't always get replaced as soon as they should. With this project, the city of Detroit is coming through. We will replace that lead service line for you, put in a new copper line, and you'll have a 1-year warranty on the pipe that has been installed. The one thing we do need you to do is sign a waiver because we need the right to be able to go onto your property. But if you sign the waiver, DWSD will come in, install that new service line at no cost to you. We know we owe an enormous debt of gratitude to the people who have funded the first 2 years of these line replacements. It's been President Biden through the American Rescue Plan. It's been Governor Whitmer and her leadership, and the outstanding support we've had from our Michigan delegation. Of course, we're very fortunate to have the Speaker of the House, Joe Tate, from this city. And today we have Representative Alabas Farhat representing that delegation. But this is possible because our legislators have fought for us, and it's a very exciting day for us. One other thing we want those out here who are entrepreneurs to think about. Normally, we would put contracts out for major contractors to do 2,500 lead lines in a bid, and we will still do some of those. But we want to maximize the number of Detroit companies doing the work and the number of Detroiters working at these companies. And that means giving a chance for our smaller companies to learn this and grow, because this process is going to go on for the next 10 or 15 years. And that means there's going to be opportunities for Detroit construction companies for a decade or more to come. So Gary Brown and the Water Department will be putting these packages out not just at 2,500 at a time, but in groups of as few as 250 houses at a time to let the smaller contractors get a chance to get up and running. The first $45 million in bids will be out before the end of the month. Gary is going to talk to you about how you bid, but this is the vision we have. Detroit companies hiring Detroiters, building a new system that will keep the water safe for our city for generations to come. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our outstanding leader, who is very excited to be kicking off this project, DWSD Director Gary Brown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I am excited about this project. I think it's worth saying one more time that our water at DWSD and in the city of Detroit is really best in class. And I'm on all of the national trade water organizations. My staff are on the same, involved with the same organizations. And I can tell you, not only does our water taste good, but it is first-class water. We're not here today because there's a problem. You've seen problems in New Jersey or problems in Benton Harbor where EPA has had to helicopter in and fix the problem. We don't have a problem with the water right now. We've reported our data to the state regulators. We're well below the actionable level. We're below the federal level. We're below the more stringent state level. So we're not here because we have a problem. We're here because we want to outline an orderly process that has the objective of getting the lines out of our neighborhoods and also creating opportunity for Detroiters that can do this work as well as contractors. That's why we're here today. Detroit, as the mayor indicated, has somewhere between 80,000 and 100,000 lead service lines. And over the last 3 years, we've replaced about 3,000 lines. But we did it in our capital program. The objective of that program wasn't to remove lead service lines. It was to come into a neighborhood like this and replace the water main because it had outlived its useful life. And if a lead service line was attached to that water main, we weren't going to leave it. We'd pull it out and we'd put in a new copper line. And during that process, we got about 3,000 lines out of the way. And we've been very clear. The mayor has been clear to me and to the state and to the federal government. We are not going to put the burden of this cost. And this cost, we're talking $800 to $1 billion to finish this project. We cannot pass that cost on to ratepayers. And so we were very clear. We're capable of, and we want to go faster, but we're not going to put the cost on the backs of our hardworking Detroiters. They can't afford it. The money has to come from the federal or the state level. And now for the next 2 years, we have those dollars available, and we're ready to move forward. The question that I'm going to be asked the most, and I was at a community meeting in the far northwest side on Tuesday, is when are you going to get to my neighborhood? Why are you doing Claytown first? And it's very simple. The density of population in this neighborhood, the number of houses, the number of lead service lines, but most importantly, the number of kids and seniors that live in this neighborhood. And we're going to neighborhoods that have that criteria, along with they've been economically disadvantaged for a very long time. And so you may not see us in some neighborhoods in Northwest Detroit for several years because we've identified the neighborhoods with the most kids, the most lines, and the ones that are most at risk. And we're talking about protecting not only the kids in this neighborhood, but the kids for generations to come. Next year, every year thereafter, as the mayor indicated, we'll be doing 10,000 lines. And so we expect to do 5,000 this year, but as our contractors gain more experience, and I'm going to be asking them to work through the winter, not to stop the construction season in the winter because we're going to be working below the frost line. We may not be able to go as fast, but we will be able to continue to work year-round as the contractors gain more experience, as they hire more Detroiters to be able to do this work. You have to understand, we're putting out RFPs and RFBs, requests for bids, for work that has not been done in this city in 50 or 60 years, putting in a service line, a lead service line at the time. This work hasn't been done. And so we have to grow the workforce organically so that we can create opportunity for Detroiters. As the mayor indicated, next week we will put out, right now we have a $25 million contract that's assigned to this neighborhood. Next week we will put out a request for bid. Our goal is to identify 6 to 8 small, medium, and large contractors that we can give the large contractors up to 2,500 lines to do, and we can give the smaller, what I call mom and pop master plumbers that are trying to build a business, 250. And the medium-sized companies will get something in between, depending on the equipment and the number of people that they have. So we're going to continue our capital plan where we will replace lines as we do water mains. We will accelerate with almost $100 million the project that we're working on right now. Then we will hire employees and train them to be able to do the work that the contractors are doing. And those jobs will not only be good paying jobs, but they will come with pensions and health care benefits. So we're excited about that. We're going to use those employees to do what we call the one-offs, the ones that come up now and then that need to be replaced. And over the years, since the 80s, DWSD has been replacing only half the line. We'll use our internal employees to go back to those homes and at our cost. That's important to say. This is all being done at our cost. It's not costing the homeowners a dime. And so we'll have those 4 different projects that has the goal of getting 5,000 done this year and a minimum of 10,000 next year. I can't tell you how much outreach we've done in the community. This isn't new to us. Our communication team has been doing community meetings at parks, walking our residents through everything that's going to happen from beginning to end. And when I have those meetings, I not only come out, I bring my top executives out, my COO, my chief of staff, I also bring out the contractors. And I tell the community in front of the contractors and my team, my goal is that every resident is happy at the end of their project, that we're going to make sure that their restorations are done right, that what's done inside their home is done right, and we're going to make sure that they have an NSF filter and cartridge so that and we'll give them a supply for at least 6 months so that after the job is done, they can filter their home in case any particles might have broken loose and gotten into the system. And so with that said, that community outreach, I'll turn it over to, I believe, Eva.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is definitely exciting for this area. I am the District 6 manager with the Department of Neighborhoods, and I am here as a witness to the extensive community outreach that the Detroit Water and Sewage Department has done. Aside from going door to door and leaving information on the doors for the residents, they also had community meetings where the residents were able to come out and talk to the contractors, talk to the Detroit Water Sewage Department, and not just in English, but in multiple languages, which is extremely important for this community that is heavy on other races. So we have our Hispanic community, our Arab community, and other cultures. So we definitely want to thank the Detroit Water Sewage Department for their extensive outreach, because without that, projects like this really wouldn't be able to get done. And so we thank them for that. And I also want to pass the mic on to a resident of Claytown. And he's going to talk about how excited him and his family is to be able to receive this service and to talk a little bit about the community outreach as well. And so with that, I'm going to welcome Emmanuel Juarez.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the entrepreneur, designer, curator, and contractor, I've been living on this side of McGraw for over 20 years already. First off, though, I want to thank Mayor Duggan and his administration for doing such a great job revamping the city all these years. Honestly, I catch myself wishing this was done when I was younger so I could get to enjoy it, but I'm really happy that where we are now. And now with DWSD replacing the lead service lines, the city, it will be huge for our health and for our seniors and future generation. I'm glad to see the community getting this help, and without it, honestly, it would have cost us like $10,000 per house. So for us to get this free, it's a lot of help. We understand that it will be a long process, but we're ready to learn and help each other understand that with this lead issue. I'm actually still learning myself. And as a homeowner and as someone who had lead in their system before, when I was younger, it's probably the reason why I have a slight ADHD. But now that we're not being ignored and we're being helped by the city, we want to thank again the current administration and Eva for being an amazing District 6 manager.
All right. All right. So you see the stories around the country and you say, how can this happen? And here's the reality. The lead service lines in this country are in the older cities. They tend to be the lower income cities. And so when it comes time to replace them, the people who need the most help have the least ability to bear the cost. And you've seen way too many cities defer their obligation until it was too late. You need help at the state and federal level. And we are so fortunate here that the 15,000 service lines we're going to do for the next 2 years is because our legislators in Lansing went to bat for us. And at this point, I want to invite two of them up, Representative Tyrone Carter, who's chair of the Detroit caucus, and Representative Alabas Farhat, representing the delegation. And I just want to say to them and all of their colleagues, thank you for this very important assistance. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to this administration. What you just talked about is really true. I'm a lifelong resident of District 6. Proud to live here, raise my family here, but we've had challenges. And what he said is true. What we find out is there is lead in the lines, and how do we address that? Many people cannot afford that, so this has been a priority of the governor. It's been a priority of this mayor, and we were able to get that funding this time so that we can get it done and to see residents feel like somebody's fighting on their behalf for a clean, healthy, safe environment. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Albas. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Howard. I'll just add that in this new culture that we've seen of collaboration when it comes to assisting the city of Detroit, where we have partners like the governor, the president, and the Speaker of the House and the chair of the, obviously, Detroit caucus, Tyrone Carter, all coming together and bringing these stakeholders to the table to say, how can we do right by the residents of Detroit? How can we empower them to have these small businesses? And not only that, we know we have some of the cleanest water in the state and in the nation. It's ensuring that how do we be proactive so Detroit does not become another story that we see in the news elsewhere. And I just want to thank the mayor and his leadership for doing that and highlighting what good local government looks like and bringing stakeholders to the table and doing it the right way. So thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, and with that, we'll take any questions.
Mayor,
Yes.
My name is Andrea Platt. I'm with the Michigan Chronicle. What do you plan to do with the lead pipes in light of climate change? So when you're done bringing up the pipes and the service lines, what do you plan to do with them?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see the machine that's behind us, but when we directional bore, they will be left in the ground. They're not going to be removed. And so we'll be pushing a new copper line through the system and leaving the lead service lines in place.
Go ahead, Gary, you probably have all the answers.
You mentioned that this would cost up to $1 billion to complete the project, and you also said that we have the funding available. Can you just give a breakdown of where that funding is coming from?
Yeah, we got $75 million from ARPA. We received another $5 million grant from the state. And the rest of the money is coming through different grants that we've applied for. And it's my understanding that the state approved another $250 million yesterday that cities, municipalities will be able to apply for. We certainly expect, because of the number of lines that Detroit has, that we will at least get 40% of that money. So right now, we have approximately $100 million in hand that we're putting contracts on the street for, and we're hoping to receive an additional $100 million for future line removal.
So is this all, is any of it coming out of city?
Yeah, there's about $10 million, and I described the capital plan that is coming out of DWSD rate dollars.
Mr. Brown, a follow-up question. How should residents prepare themselves when it comes time for y'all to come into their part of the neighborhood?
That is a great question. Be available when we make the appointment to come inside your house to connect the new line to the meter. Our contractors, they're going to be going like an assembly line. They're going to go to every house on the block. They're going to hydro excavate. They're going to dig up the stop box and take a look at the lines on both sides, the public side and the private side. If there's lead on either side, they're going to be replacing it. And we need, the biggest problem that we've had is that we're on that block, we're ready to connect to the house, and someone may not be awake yet, or may not, they're coming home. We need them to make the commitment to be there when we make the appointment to do the connection inside the house. Other than that, we expect less than 4 hours of a home being out of service. This is a pretty quick endeavor. It's not going to take very long. They're not going to be out of water for very long, each house. And so, unlike when we do our capital plan and we're replacing a water main and we're taking water out of service for quite a long time, this is just 2 to 4 hours and we're in and out.
Gary, how long would it take them to get down this block?
I suspect they're going to try to get down this block in one day on both sides of the street.
Can you talk about how you know if you have a lead service line, and if you do, should you be concerned? I mean, what you're saying is this is more of a preventative measure.
Yeah.
But should you be worried at all?
Good question. Good question. I've lived in Detroit all my life. I have a 1.5-inch lead service line. I've raised 3 kids. I've got 6 grandkids, and the water is safe. If you're concerned, use a filter pitcher. How do you tell if you have a line? Simply take a dime and go down and scratch the line that comes into the house and connects to the meter, that comes through the wall or up the floor, connects to the meter. If it's a shiny color, it's obviously lead. If it's copper, you can stick a magnet on it, and the magnet will stay on metal. Those are 2 ways, and we have lots of information on our website that will advise our customers how to tell whether or not they have a lead service line. And they can also, on our website, pre-sign a authorization form to allow us in, so that when we get to that neighborhood, they're already ready to go.
Gary, can you clarify the 1 day? You were talking about the hydro excavation, not the replacement.
Yeah, Brian's correct. So we got to hydro excavate in 1 day, make sure we know each house that has a line, and we'll come back the next day and make the connection. But the customer won't be out of water while we're digging up the stop box to determine. Every house won't have a lead service line. What it is in 1945, lead was outlawed. All of these homes were built prior to 1945 when lead was the material of choice for most developers. So we make the assumption that it is, but we're finding out that 60% of the houses have lead service lines and the rest are copper. So we don't have to actually do anything on those houses but do the restoration of where we dug up the stop box.
Question regarding the age, Gary. You say that some of these are 80, 90 years old, these lead lines. What's the life expectancy on a copper line?
I would say 50 years. Yes. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.